Well, welcome to the JD Power Travel Podcast. I'm Michael Taylor, practice lead for travel at JD Power. And normally I would be joined by Jenny Corwin and Andrea Stokes, but this week we have a special guest. We had discussed internally at JD Power that maybe we ought to mix it up a little bit and bring some outside folks in. The very first person I thought of was the Chief Customer Experience Officer for San Antonio Airport, which is Karen Ellis. One of my favorite people. Karen, you're one of my favorite people, in case you didn't know that
Aw,
already.
thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, I'll just give you a little bit of the background on who Karen. If you don't know who Karen is, Karen, is the Chief Customer Experience Officer for San Antonio Airport. She's a award-winning airport administrator. She's won the Airports Council International Legacy Award for Creativity and Excellence for Airport Marketing and Communications. She's in charge of arts, culture, music, government military affairs, public relations, and the San Antonio Volunteer Ambassador Program, and she sells popcorn at halftime during the San Antonio Spurs game. So, and prior to that, she's worked with the Houston Airport System, both Hobby and Bush, and also the big one, Atlanta Hartsfield Airport. So welcome, Karen Ellis.
Thank you so much for having me. And I will add one more thing. I don't know if it makes sense, but I do have one more area that I'm over in, which is the terminal management team. So
Oh,
yeah,
good.
one more area
Just
that
a small
yeah,
thing.
just got that one recently. So
Well, anyway, I guess, the entire time that seemingly the entire time we've been doing podcasts at JD Power, we've spoken about nothing but COVID as the primary topic. And, the situation keeps changing from week to week, month to month. And so I thought we'd start off. If you could just tell us a little bit, when you guys at San Antonio first knew that COVID was coming, was going to impact the airport, what are some of the things that what are the very first things that you guys did?
thank you so much for that question. I think the first thing that we did was we tried to meet with our teammates because we wanted to calm them or provide them with as much information as we could because we knew that if the employees were not ready for it, they couldn't be ready for the passengers. And so, as much information as we could gather, we kind of pulled them all together to say, hey, here is what's coming, here is what we know, here's what we don't know. And we want you to feel comfortable in asking questions. Although we may not have the answers for you, we wanted to make sure we gave them enough information so that they could be, one, they could be safe, and then two, that they could share that information because we knew that questions were going to be coming to them from right and left. And so we wanted to equip them with whatever we could so that they could be ready for those questions when they came in. So that was huge for us to make sure that we communicated, and we wanted as much as we could to calm the fears because we knew that the unexpected or the unexpected was about to hit us, and we didn't know what we didn't know, but we did know that we wanted to make sure that our employees, our team members, our stakeholders had as much information as we did. So again, that we could calm their fears so that they could help calm the fears of our passengers and guests.
Does it feel like ancient history to you? I mean, it seems like it happened 4 years ago. Does it seem that
It
way to you?
really does. It really does. And we're still just trying to look for that light at the end of the tunnel. We thought we were there, but with its new Delta variants and variant and the other variants that are out there, we just don't know. We just don't know. So we're not taking our foot off the gas on the things that we've been doing. And so we're just trying to make sure that we again are communicating as much as we can and trying to stay positive.
Well, in a normal operation, say it's 2019, and the stress level on a scale of 1 to 10 for the staff is, let's just say, 2, because we know it's much higher than 2. What
hmm
would you say that at the beginning of the pandemic, where would you say the stress level of your staff was on that 1 to 10 scale?
Probably a 10
Yeah. And
because it was the unknown.
mhm.
It was, we had heard about it. We had watched, other countries and their experiences, and seeing one or two or three or four starting to impact our area, it was just the unknown. So people were on high alert because they just didn't know.
And what do you think your people did well during this whole crisis? I mean, we're going on for months. It seems like this is a long war. But,
Yeah, I,
you guys are doing very well in our JD Power survey, despite all the challenges that have been thrown at you. So I know that your folks are doing a great job down there in San Antonio. What would you
thank
say are
you.
some of the success stories that you could tell us about?
I think for us, because we started out providing as much information as we could, trying to make sure that our team members knew that we had their best interest at heart. I think that calmed their fears to the point where they were willing to kind of do whatever we needed to do to make sure that we were providing a safe environment and are ready for the customers to answer questions that we have. So I think that was huge for us. The other thing is, one of the things that I think that we did well is we allowed our employees to work from home. Obviously, my entire team could not work from home together. So I ensured that they had either 3 days at home, 2 days in the office, or 2 days in the office and 3 days home, so that we would have someone from each team in the office. And so they felt as though that was a way for them to stay safe with their families, work from home, and they weren't as quote unquote as exposed being here for every day. Because, of course, in a 24-hour, 7 days a week facility, we didn't have the luxury of being able to just shut down and everybody go home. But we also wanted to be mindful that to allow them to be able to do part-time here, part-time there, and still be able to get the work done. And I think that was a big plus for us because people were comfortable, and I even let them pick their own days. I didn't say, hey, you got to do this. I just wanted to ensure that there was someone from each department that would be represented here in the event that something happened on campus. They needed to be here. So I think that was one of the biggest things that we did, and people appreciated that.
And how are they holding up? I mean, how would you
I
say
think
their
they're
mood
doing
is?
well. I think they're doing well for my team, because we are very front facing. We make sure that we get together, and although we get together, we do it in a way where we can social distance from each other. We wear our mask all the time because that's a city requirement. But we get it, we just kind of let our hair down every now and then to say, hey, just take a deep breath. Let's take a step back. Let's everybody come in, and for birthdays we still celebrate them individually. I get each one of them a cake, so they feel there's some sense of normalcy of what they were accustomed to. So I think because of that, and then we have a call once a day on Tuesday and Wednesday. And that's their opportunity to let me know what's going on with the family, anything that I can do for them. So they feel that connection. So I think that helps with that stress level.
And in August of 2020, what would you say is San Antonio's biggest challenge at the moment in running the airport as best you can?
Well, a couple things. So one of our biggest challenges right now is the migrants that are coming from Mexico. Um, they are being Once they're cleared from the border cities, then they're bused or either transported in vans to our airport. One of the Texas airports. We have gotten our share of them. And so they come to the airport and then they wait. Most 90% of them have airline tickets, but they are not maybe not traveling that day, so they have to spend the night in the airport and then they fly out the next morning. So over the last, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks, we've had quite a few migrants that have been in the airport that we've tried to accommodate as best that we could. In addition to the fact that there's an increase in our traffic, we definitely see our numbers up. We see our international flights up. We are a COVID vaccination pop up location. So we have a lot of people that are coming to either get the one shot or the two doses here at the airport. So it's been a lot of moving parts, in addition to having the pandemic. So we've been just trying to make do as we can.
And San Antonio's a military town. Do you see
It
any
is.
impact in the military?
Hmm. Well, not as much. They still are um, functioning in the same or similar manner as pre-pandemic. So they're still having to process their soldiers as well, not their recruits when they come in. So they're not quite soldiers yet, but they're still having to transport them to the military bases here. So we're still doing that as well. So that's another piece, but that's a constant piece. We that never goes every once a week. I don't want to say the date, but once a week we do have those recruits that come in that get transported from our airport to the military base Lackland here in the city.
One of the things that we see in the JD Power data as we're tracking it quarter to quarter is changing expectations
Hmm.
from the passengers. How would you
Mhm.
say the expectations have changed from, say, a year ago, last August of 2020 to now?
That's a good question. I think one of the things that has changed from then to now is people want to know what safety precautions that we have in place now. That wasn't something that they kind of, I don't want to say took for granted and just assumed when they were traveling pre-pandemic, but now they want to know, well, what are you doing, and what do I need to do when I arrive, and how are you social distancing? They just want information, and so we try to make sure that we provide them with that information via our website, through our social media, through we've changed our overhead announcements so people kind of know what's going on and what we're doing. So I think that's the difference in this year versus pre-pandemic, because we didn't have to focus on that before. We were just doing those things that were kind of delighting, or trying to think of those ways to surprise and delight. But now it's more, okay, here's what we're doing from a safety perspective so that people can feel comfortable as they're traveling through our airport.
Another one of the trends we see in the JD Power data is, the one of the things that people like about most airports, including San Antonio, is the food, beverage, and retail program. Are you guys experiencing the same kinds of problems that other food, beverage, and retail programs are experiencing at other airports? Basically, the lack of labor shortage and the
Yeah.
lack of stores being open.
Unfortunately, we are. And we talk, obviously, we talk to different airports all the time, trying to figure out ways of being able to recruit and retain some of the employees. We've had some of our restaurants had to change their hours of operations due to lack of staffing, but I'm thankful to say that we're seeing a turn in that we're seeing more employees coming back, and it's ironic that we're doing this today because we had a big announcement this morning where we have one of our local restaurants, Whataburger, that did a ribbon cutting this morning because they are going to be coming to San Antonio in spring of 2022. And so that is huge for us because, again, they're a local hamburger facility that that located throughout the state and throughout the city, but it's coming to our airport. So that was a very, very positive sign that we see that Whataburger is saying, hey, we want to be in the airport regardless to how it may look right now from a staffing perspective, but we think it's going to get better, which again is a positive sign for us.
And what does 2022 look like for San Antonio? What do you think is going to happen as we go through the holiday season here and get into that January 2022 and the brand new year? What's going to happen at San Antonio, do you think?
I am super excited about 2022, looking at the way 2021 is going. We at this point, I just learned from our air service development chief that we are only 9% down from 2019 numbers. So traffic is up for us, and we just see it continuing to move higher and higher. to get us back to our quote unquote pre-pandemic numbers. So I'm excited about the outlook for the city as well as for the airport, because there's so many things that we are planning and we're continuing to roll with, because we are looking past the pandemic. We're doing what we can to restore consumer confidence, and as a result of that, we're seeing our passengers feel more comfortable and they are coming back, which is great for us. And so I see it going nowhere but up, in 2022.
Well, Karen, with you in charge, I feel the same way. This San Antonio is going to go nowhere but up. And again, you guys have done a great job in our rankings and continuing to improve. And you've met all these challenges with seeming aplomb, as to use an old-fashioned term. So I want to thank you very much for being our very first guest on the JD Power Travel Podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you
You
very
know, I've
much.
only been doing this about 23 years now. So I absolutely love what I do. And, we communicate a lot with other airports, and my goal is to make a difference in someone's lives. And that's what my team is focused on as well. So as long as we can make at least one person smile each day, then we're doing our best.
Well said. Well, Karen Ellis, thank you very much for being our guest.
My pleasure.
And that's it for this week's JD Power Travel Podcast. I'm Michael Taylor, the practice lead for travel at JD Power. And if you want to find out more about what we do at JD Power, you can go to jdpower.com. And in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see business. Click on that. Scroll down to travel, and you'll see all the things that Jenny Corwin, Andrea Stokes, and myself have been doing over the last 12 to 15 months. So thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.